So once FreightWaves and JP broke the article on freight.amazon.com, the ground logistics brokerage, we were tasked with taking a deeper dive into Amazon and logistics, and today we had another breaking story about how FedEx Express and Amazon are severing ties, at least with air. What's your take on this, Seth?
Well, so yeah, today is an air-related announcement, and I think it was inevitable. So Amazon had already announced that they were building their own plane network. They have 50 planes. These stats are a little bit old, but they have about 50 planes, and they plan to go to 100. And they've built a $1.5 billion hub in Cincinnati or northern Kentucky. So I think they were already starting to shift a lot of their air business away from FedEx. And so FedEx may have known they were going to get dumped, or it may have been low margin revenue in the first place. So maybe they just wanted to go ahead and preempt that by cutting ties with them.
How much involved do you think the one-day shipping and the push to do one-day deliveries from Amazon is kind of straining not only the air relationship, but also the ground, the project that we worked on?
Yeah, exactly. So air, they're moving to one-day shipping. That's going to they're going to invest $800 million to do that. So they continue pushing that envelope on getting packages to their customers faster and faster. But that's not easy to do, right? You have to have the logistics network. So they've been leaning on their third-party partners like FedEx to do that, and they've been straining those companies' capital expenditures. And so I think in a lot of ways it makes sense for Amazon to bring this in-house because they spent $30 billion on transportation and shipping last year. And so Morgan Stanley also put out a report that they spend, if they bring it in-house on their own air network, they only spend $6 per package, whereas they're spending $8 to $10 with UPS and FedEx. And so his estimate was, just to start, that's a $2 billion cost savings for Amazon next year.
So it makes sense why they're ordering planes. We're up to what, 40, 50 planes now?
Yeah,
and then the $1.5 billion they spent in Cincinnati for kind of their central hub?
That's right, yeah. So from what I've read, they're around 50 planes right now. That hub in Cincinnati can support up to 100 planes, but to put that in context, right now FedEx has about 700 planes, so there's still a long way to go there.
Yeah. And we saw that kind of with the ground market as well, right? With freight.amazon.com and the beta version of kind of that online marketplace that they're running, probably gearing up a lot to do the one-day shipping, right, or one-day delivery. Kind of expanding their network, getting it to where it's flowing back and forth very well to optimize everything, right?
Right, yeah, I mean, Amazon needs their network to be a well-oiled machine. Like a couple years ago, they had some delivery issues with packages around Christmas, and I think that was the source of them bringing a lot of this stuff in-house. Is if those packages don't get to their doorstep from UPS or FedEx, it's Amazon who looks bad.
What effects do you think this is going to have on maybe UPS stocks or other third-party vendors? They had an issue with there's a little tiff between Amazon and XPO earlier,
right,
or a few months ago. And what do you think the stock market and the equities are going to do with similar companies like FedEx?
Right, so there's a lot of pent-up tension in these relationships, as you can tell, and I think let's speak to FedEx quickly. FedEx has around $70 billion in revenue, and 1.3% of that's about $900 million was tied to Amazon, and Amazon was forcing them to up their capital expenditures every single year, and they were going to do this and still move away from them, right? And so I think FedEx executives, if you look at the chart up here, FedEx's stock the performance has been pretty bad, and Amazon's just continues rising, and they're using their network. And with it just being 1% of their revenue, I think, frankly, they were tired of answering questions. There was a bear case and an overhang on the stock, and in their perspective, it's just not worth it when it's only 1% of your revenue. Now they can preemptively cut ties, and that's no longer a story.
Is UPS kind of in a similar position, or it's more that they have 10% of their revenue?
Yeah, so
come from Amazon?
From everything I've heard, it's about 10% of their U.S. business comes from Amazon. So I would think that this is a bold initiative and move by FedEx. It would be a lot more risky, at least in the near term, for UPS to do the same because they've got a lot more revenue at stake, and the stock market can be unforgiving. Especially 10% of your revenue is a lot, right? Especially for a company of that size.